first time presenting to the QS group. Just a little bit of background. You can all hear me, I hope. So yeah, I've been tracking the QS community for about 3 years. Had the privilege of going to both the US and European conferences, and just want to thank Kieran for having me here today. Having spent a mini fortune on sensors and devices over the years, we decided to leave my corporate job about 12 months ago and built a team. And Kieran asked me to come and tell our story, very much focused in the QS area. And we've just got into beta, so I'm really excited to tell you about what we're doing. Before I start, how many of you are, startups or developers, and how many of you are startups or developers? Great. Okay. So then I will spend the first few minutes talking about what I'm talking about. So Semusi, by the way, if you're wondering what on earth does the word Semusi mean, it's an old Sanskrit word which means understanding. It's also a mnemonic for sensors-enabled mobile understanding of specific intent, and we can talk about that over a beer sometime. But there are two things I'm going to talk about. One is Semusi Sense, which is a platform. So if you're an entrepreneur or a developer in the room and you want to build smarter apps, pay attention to that. If you're a QS person, you like self-tracking, and you want the whole world and its family to be using these devices or self-tracking, then you want to pay attention to Semusi Active. So let's get on with the presentation. So smartphone, it's a bit of an oxymoron. I maintain that smartphones are still somewhat dumb. Okay, there are many scenarios which many of us will be aware of where you would expect the phone to be a little bit smarter. An obvious one is I'm walking, I'm looking for directions on wonderful Google Maps and I get driving instructions. Doesn't the phone know that I'm walking? Okay, I'm driving, but these notifications keep appearing. It knows I'm driving. Can't it switch the phone off automatically? So that's just two examples, but there's lots of scenarios. If you step back and think, why doesn't the phone know? My calendar's on the phone. It knows I'm in a call. Why am I getting an interruption? So we're really focused around trying to make smartphones smarter, and that's what Semusi is about. There's a word which is increasingly being used now, context aware, which I see a few nods in the room. And we are busy building software which is truly context aware. And so, if I nod, just click. Okay, all right. So, just go back a second. So, our background. I'll give you my background in a second, but the team actually started. So I spent about 20 years at Microsoft, and before that IBM, and worked with them all around the world in terms of building teams and shipping, early stage software and doing lots of wonderful things. I built a team in India when I was there for about 4 years. We were building and shipping products. I left Microsoft a year ago. My team left a couple of years before that. We kind of regrouped. There's 10 of us who are basically building what I consider to be shit-out software. And a couple of years ago when the team started, we actually got into the mobile security space. Okay? And shipped a great product, it's feature-rich, work with operators, got it on the App Store. Technically, this is a great product. Commercially, I think it's an absolute disaster. Okay, we've got it on 9 languages, we've got distribution, but we haven't figured out a great way to make money. But you come from the school of hard knocks. We've learned a lot about what not to do, and happy to discuss that with anyone who wants to talk offline. But the great thing about this product or this project was we learned about sensors. Your average smartphone has anything between 15 and 21 sensors. And with my growing interest in quantified self, etc., we decided to work on a new product. Before I talk about that, we started betting on software in a big way. Software on the device, software in the cloud. So there's something called massive online analytics that we spend a lot of time on. We fuse the inputs from different sensors together. We do a lot of machine learning, which I'll show you in a second. And then we also work on behavioral analytics as well. And the goal here is to create an SDK. And the SDK, okay, so the machine learning, using the accelerometer and the gyrometer, and we're kind of correlating the data from these different sensors together, we're able to detect whether the user is idle or not idle, whether the user is sitting or not standing, whether it's walking or running, all the different things you need to try and understand someone's context. So what Semusi is trying to do is trying to understand different types of context for a person using the hard sensors on a smartphone as well as the soft sensors. And what I mean by the soft sensors are, the data that's on the phone. But we also spend a lot of time working with, as many of the sensors as possible. You also need to make sure, from the previous talk we learning how to manage the battery on the phone is really, really important. Otherwise, you can have the sensors on all the time and the batteries get screwed very quickly. And you've got to learn to fuse them together. And for the startups in the room, these are the APIs which we have either shipped or are working on. So we have an activity API, which is really what I'm going to talk about in a second. We have a behavior API, not behavior from a stroke point of view or from a health point of view. We focused a lot of our efforts on mining and looking at your purchasing behavior, which we think is an interesting scenario. There's a motion API in terms of a transportation context. There's an anomaly API if the phone is able, if the software is able to detect that the phone is being used in an unusual way. And there's location API, and some of you may think location, isn't that done together? There are many issues with GPS assisted, and we're doing a lot of stuff with the magnometer to basically do indoor location tracking in a different way as well. So, Semusi as a company is focused on trying to build an SDK. And what we'll do is we'll build some sample applications on top of this SDK. But I spent 10 of my 20 years at Microsoft doing developer evangelism, getting out to software developers, getting them to build stuff on top of SDKs and platforms. And that's what we're going to try and do with our Semusi SDK. We've got a few apps here, which I can, some are half done, some are further along, and the one I want to talk about is active. So that's the first part of the presentation. Semusi as a context provider. If you're a startup or if you're a developer and you're going to build smarter apps, come and talk to me. Okay? So on to Semusi Active. So don't want to spend too much time on this. We all know that big healthcare issues around the world. And for me at home a couple of years ago when my dad was in hospital in the UK, took a bypass operation. He's in his 70s, so he's come of age and stuff. But there were so many people on the ward which were in their 30s and 40s. It just, and I'm speaking to it's purely down to lifestyle. It is preventable, and everyone in this room kind of knows that. But we've got to cultivate better habits in terms of sleeping better, eating better, and moving more. And I think that's one of the reasons why some of us are probably using these devices to track our activity. So our activities define us, and every day we have moments of truth. I don't know about you, but I love people watching, and every day, I take the MRT or I take the buses, and how many people actually take the steps? Great. It's a conscious decision that I make every day, but I think we are the exception. Okay, even in a place like Singapore, people will automatically take the lift. Okay? People will park their car closest to the office, and there is an advantage there, but these things are building up. So the challenge that we're working on with Semusi Active is how do you make people more self-aware of their daily activity? And so we want to do this by making it easy for them to measure their activity levels without doing anything. Okay? We want to make sure they can see this information in terms of a glancing go. There's no kind of complicated histogram or correlation they need to look at. It should be nice and visually appealing. And then the interesting thing, when it's the most exciting thing, is how do you then motivate them? Whether it's gamification, whether it's social, whether it's financial rewards. We want to help change people's daily habits, and we know it's no easy feat. And so we started last year. We made a bunch of apps. Okay, these were sample apps. So we built a HRM, we built a pedometer, we built a calorie counter. We had a lot of fun doing it. Okay, but we soon found there's a problem with these apps. There's tons of these apps. I'm not claiming to be the first one in the market. And that's where we use the word ObiFit. So we had lots of different code names. We released these in the market, had some kind of success. But the problem with apps is they're not continuous. So, I'm a big user of Runkeeper, and it's great when I'm going for my run on a Sunday morning. I hit start and I hit stop. I see my run mapped out. I know how many calories I've burned. That's it. What about all those other activities throughout the day? When I'm walking around, when I'm going to the shop, how are those things being tracked? It's not automatic. It's manual start and stop. If you use that app full time, battery's going to go. You heard about GPS earlier. They tend to be more kind of sports focused and have not been designed for 24/7 use. Okay? And then you've got wearables, and it's really interesting because I'm speaking to a group and a room of kind of converts, because you've all bought these devices, and I've bought too much, and ask my wife, it's the marriage is on the rocks, how much money I've spent on these. No, but joking aside, it is a new behavior. Some of you say, yeah, you just got to wear it. Well, it's not normal for just to wear it every day. Okay, you might build up that habit, but people you forget. They need charging. Who was the guy at the start of the event saying, "I've got charger, I need my charger." Okay, so these things need charging. Often get lost. I've lost so many. I love the new Shines, which I know Kieran's wearing and the doctor's wearing, but it's lovely and it's small. I worry you're going to lose it. Okay, and I hope you don't. Okay, but they're hard to upgrade because they're kind of a heavy device. They cost up to $99 plus. Might be okay in the Singapore context, but I was in India last week doing some focus groups with students in Delhi. But $99, you must be joking. Forget about it. It's not something that we're going to spend that kind of money on. Activity tracking amongst the devices may vary. It's another device to carry. And I still believe, and please friends, we are early adopters. I think it'd be great if these devices came down and cheaper, but I do not believe this is going to be a mass market phenomenon, okay, unless some fundamental dynamics change. Whilst there is a device which is a mass market phenomenon, that's the smartphone. All of us carry a smartphone. There's economies of scale to be said to be for the smartphone. It's a subsidized business model. And the great thing is all the sensors which are in your wonderful Fitbits and Jawbones and Nike Fuel Band, they're already in the smartphone. Okay? You've just got to build the smart software so they can be used in a efficient way. I've got a chart here because I was really excited in preparing for this talk. I finally found a device in Israel, by the way, called, this is a small deviation from my talk. Go to www.lifewatchv.com. It's a dedicated Android smartphone with a built-in ECG, with a built-in stress test. It's got a temperature. This is health, not wellness. If you're into mapping all your vital signs 24/7, this is a device that you should check it out. Why am I bringing this to your attention? I have no doubt that the economics of the mobile phone space will mean that there will be a device, the smartphone, that will be equipped with these sensors in time to come. Okay, check out Onward. I don't know if you guys know Onward. They've done a research and they say they hope by 2017 there'll be something like 500 million users of apps, okay, and these wearable devices. The actual wearable devices is a small percentage of that 500 million users. The 500 million users is vis-a-vis the 4.5 billion people who have phones. It's still a small population. So the problem we're working on is how do you make it mass market? So an idea is born. How can you do 24/7 activity tracking using your smartphone? And that's what Active is. All right. So I have to say it's in beta. I have it here. I'd like you guys to kind of check it out. And basically, we've bet on software on the smartphone, using the cloud for real-time analytics, and working on a new business model. We haven't worked out pricing yet, but it's going to be nothing like $99. At the same time, it can't be 99 cents because I've got to pay my bills somehow. But we'll work out a happy medium, which is kind of a win-win. And this is what it is at the moment. I say at the moment because it's in beta. You literally install the app. Today it's Android. We have iOS and Windows in the works, and we have the ability to track. If you're sleeping, you're sitting, you're walking, you're standing, purely using those machine learning algorithms, very similar to the previous speaker. We basically create models of different user states. We get as much data as possible by blending the gyroscope and accelerometer. We're able to detect how people are using the phone. The important thing is we're not asking them to change their behavior. So it's not a case of wearing something, it's not a case of putting something on your wrist. Use your phone in whichever way you do at the moment. Put it in your handbag, put it in your pocket. Yes, there are scenarios where there might be gaps in the data. Okay? And the question on sleeping earlier applied the same to us. But the mass market are blind at the moment. Okay? So vis-a-vis not having any information, they're actually becoming self-aware of how active or inactive they actually are. We've also added a kind of a historical view. So, very simple UI. You can see how active and inactive you are, how many calories you've got, glancing go, daily, and we're now beginning to work on a whole bunch of motivation stuff. One of the things I'm trying to work out in the beta is social is a given. Should we do gamification? Should we do a leaderboard? Should we give badges? Should we take some of the features that you see in the Fitbits and the Jawbones? Or should we keep it really, really simple? So that's what I'm trying to figure out. These are the activities we track today, including traveling. So if you're in a bus, MRT, so that's what we're doing. And yeah, it's continuous 24/7. We're trying to do corporate wellness. That's the interesting thing. I mean, I was last year listening to Steve from Fitbit. It was unbelievable what percentage of the talk was around corporate wellness. Because I spent a lot of time with Sonny. Sonny, who do you know Sonny? The founder of Misfits, Shine. I took him around in a corner in San Francisco last year. So how much money are you going to make on this? Very few of the sensor guys are making real money. Okay? Because the economics don't necessarily work out. They're trying to make money eventually on the data side. So they need a lot of users to come on board. I'm bringing that up because many of these guys are now beginning to sell their devices into corporates. Buy devices en masse, let's get you on a great corporate plan, let's get you on a subscription license. And so we're working on a corporate wellness plan and trying to add new features as well. Effortless tracking, drive self-awareness, look at your history. Think of it as the mass market Fitbit. That's what we're trying to. That's what we're trying to do at the moment. That's my closing slide. Okay, in terms of.
Show us the app.
It's gone. Here it is. So I can't connect this to. I want to set the phone round. I can't. I only bought this S4. Works on any Android. No, it's just me.
I upset you. I'm sorry.
Send it around. You can all have a look. Okay. I mean, I've been how many all days I've been tracking the MRT. Just send it around. And it'd be great if I could put it on a display, but I haven't got the VGA connector. But it is free at the moment. It is on beta. We are building the Windows and the iOS version, so I'll get it out brought into the group when it's live. But the question I'd like to ask you before you start killing me with questions is this the right bet? Do you think? I'm in a room full of gadget guys, and if we can crack this in terms of using your smartphone as a mass market tracker, do you believe it can be done, or do you think I'm barking up the wrong tree? What's the views on that? It's possible, yeah. Okay. Well, I think you already are in that space.
I think it's the right.
It's the right move. Okay.
Definitely for mass market specialization. If you want to do a swimming with your tracking
device. Think of the goggles with the sensor.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's interesting from that passive perspective. So, obviously, in the context of Silverline, it's interesting because actually those life signs or signals not necessarily of interest to the senior, but obviously to their adult children who may also be their financial sponsors or insurance companies. So I think it's the passive perspective for me that's really fascinating and what it's listening and capturing in the background. So that's what we'll talk a little bit more later, or tomorrow or the next day about it.
Did Darryl mention insurance companies? I met 3 insurance companies this week, who are now, not only interested in devices. The problem they've had with distributing the devices is a very small number of people, even with discounts, have actually picked up the devices. They like the app area because it's become a mass market phenomenon. For me, the clincher is, are insurance companies willing to offer a discount on their insurance premiums if people start using the device and start providing the data? And it's already happening in the US, by the way. But Asian-based health insurance companies are now looking into it as a marketing message to begin with. It's something that hopefully they'll do in months or years from now.
I'd like to describe the risk as it's not a consumer or market risk. The use is definitely there. It's an invention risk. It's like the cure for cancer type of risk, wherein you know that everyone needs this. The question is, can you pull this off? That's the question. Because the accuracy of the data, if it's a phone, not a band with the intrusion and all those other things, it's an invention risk.
Fair enough. Even with the band, like I said, I've been through a lot of them and asked my friends. It's not 100% super accurate.
No, I mean, I've done 2,000 steps in a meeting, by waving my hands. It's
So-
2 hours.
But no, but that's not fair to the device makers. I think your instincts are right. The majority of device makers do not bill themselves as pedometers. They're activity trackers. And that's an important distinction. But I think your instincts are correct that despite my, passion for toys, I think that the whole curve for Fitbit and devices is going to fall off a huge cliff very shortly when the fabrics, when I can do everything that is about this shine as a button, that one button of my 6 buttons, and that all my Uniqlo shirts are now tracking on the Uniqlo app. That's a different, sort of situation. You've got socks now that, people are trying to market with some sort of, sensor fibers. You have all of the athletic wear that's got integrated measurements. I agree. I've lost too many Fitbits. Devices are meant to be lost. I do think that jewelry will stay intact, and that may be useful. Your glasses you will carry. Your belt you will carry. Your watch you will carry. But I don't need more accoutrements.
On the invention thing, one of the things we're looking to do is give the user an option. High accuracy, super accurate accuracy. We're not sure how we're going to do the UI. What this means is you switch on all the sensors. So your accuracy bumps up. It's a cost. Battery life begins to suck. So we're trying to figure out how we do this from a development point of view. We can offer it as a functionality where our degree of confidence and accuracy goes up, but the battery's going to suck. Now the good thing why with the MEMS, MEMS, the sensors are becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper from the sensor conference recently, and battery life is improving as well.
More slow.
More slow. So I think eventually we're going to be in the right space. And even if we don't do it, we might mess up some resources and
Someone will do it.
Somebody will do it.
This is so organic, so that's why it's really a matter of time type of thing. The need is so clear. It's only a matter of invention risk, waiting for Moore's law. There are probably 100 other guys in the world.
We found 2 others. There's Moves, which I think many people will be aware of in Finland, but they have a huge battery life issue. And then there's another company called Fijul, which is another Helsinki-based company. They've done walking, running, and everything else they lump together as movement, because they can't get that level of finesse. And then the big baddie in the room is Google. Okay, so on the platform, the Moto X and the Context Phone, it's exactly what we're doing. So you can imagine what my team's going through at the moment, and maybe build a better API. We've looked at their API and our API and benchmarked it, and we are very confident we're more accurate. We're a small player versus the machines.
And I would defend use because the Google API is so quite heavy on the battery.
You're right. So,
I have 2 questions. So one question is picking on what you said, which is so you have these devices which are specialized for say running or which are specialized. So and you have the smartphone which has a lot of sensors on it, but it also means that different sensors could influence each other, or there could be some noise in the data that it gives you. So is there some level of is it comparable? That's really my question. The accuracy of the data that you get from a very specialized device and the accuracy of the data that you get from something like a smartphone which has multiple sensors, but which could influence each other, or there could be other things that could influence the data that you get from the sensors. So is it somewhat comparable?
what we do is, so the way I drive the team is a Fitbit, tracks my running, the smartphone algorithm must be Fitbit. That's the benchmark. So from my point of view, is it comparable from a functionality point of view? Yes. Okay. However, the Fitbit will last longer because the charge lasts longer. The phone's being used for lots of different things. So that's how we benchmarking the team at the moment.
So it is comparable.
That's
right.
If I don't get that level of accuracy, so I'm very confident on walking and running. Where the team screws up or not doing a great job is sleeping, the same reasons that we discussed just now in terms of sleeping. And then transportation has been an interesting one. So my engineering team is in India, and you know what the roads are like in India. So they can really detect transportation brilliantly in India with the big heavy trucks and the buses and whatever in the cars. But I live in Singapore, you know, and I'm using the wonderful MRT here and the cars here, and it detects, but you know, there has been some variability. So that just goes back to more sample data, which we need to feed into the algorithms.
And my second question is actually on the machine learning. So from how I understood it, one of the key features of the system that we just proposed was that it could shift contexts during the course of the day. So for example, so did I get it correctly?
Yeah, so the first part of the presentation was, if this piece of software is running on the phone as a background now, without using a battery, all of a sudden developers can now build smarter apps to understand the user's context. So as a simple scenario such as, you know, I mean, I come from a mobile advertising background. Would I, as an advertiser, pay more for a person who's sitting holding a phone? Vis-a-vis the phone is in my pocket whilst I'm looking around. Of course you would, because you've got an active engagement. So now those kind of scenarios are enabled by understanding that context, and that's just a basic example. So that's the layer, that's the API that we built in.
Join our beta. How?
Yeah, sorry, join our beta. So it's on Google Play. My problem with Singapore is I've got to do an iOS version like yesterday. You know, and so I'll get that done. But it's on Google Play. You can definitely email me, and I'm on the QS forum with you guys. It's the first time we've come out with this stuff. There are kinks in the system, but we wanna disrupt the market for wellness sensors and make it something that every man, woman, and child on earth can use. So that's what we're trying to do. Thank you.